this morning.
Boker Tov, everybody.
Boker Tov.
So this week is Parshat Noah, and I think there is a story in this parsha which often goes under the radar, and which of course I would pick to talk about. It's the story of the Tower of Babel, and I'm a linguist, so I'm very interested in this story. It's an explanation for why we became many different nations in the world who spoke many different languages. Right? I think many of us do know this story. It's a classic. The idea that that the people grew maybe haughty or maybe a little full of themselves, decided they wanted to build up a tower that went all the way to the heavens to be as great as God. And of course, God couldn't allow for that. And so God confounded their tongues, and they ended up speaking different languages. They couldn't communicate with each other. They could no longer build that tower. So I think it's interesting because I mean, in this parsha, we're taught that we're all descended from Noah, right? Because the flood wiped everybody out. We're all descended from Noah, who was a righteous person in his generation. But this also means that we're all descended from the people who made such a mistake as to think that they could be as great as God. But I want to point out that there is sort of a side effect from all of this. Yes, it means that we couldn't communicate with each other. We couldn't build it, but I think that's to be seen as a good thing. I mean, we don't want to aim as high, as lofty as God. That's viewed as a mistake in thought, that we could do something like that. But I do want to point out that language shapes the way that we think. Many linguists have studied this, and there are some languages that only have so many words for certain colors, and they tested the fact that you show people different shades and they may not be able to distinguish them if their language doesn't have a word for those different shades of color, right? It really does shape the way we view the world, the way we see things, the way we think. So I think that is to be seen as a good thing. I think that strengthens this world, because seeing the world from different perspectives means that there's more ways to see the world. I think that's a good thing. And I think, but I also want to point out that this was a punishment, and it's also sometimes a blessing. So seeing the world in a different way opens us up, and that can be accomplished through learning another language, through trying to communicate with each other. We may not always be successful at it, but it's important to try to communicate with other people and to try to see their perspectives, to try to see the world in as many different ways as possible, whether that's through learning a language or whether it's just sitting and listening to somebody else. I think that's to be seen as a good thing. So this world is full of diversity. It's filled with different thoughts and opinions. It's filled with many different types of people and cultures and languages. And so even though it was initially a punishment that we couldn't communicate, I think it's on us to try to communicate, to try to sit in conversation with each other. And we don't want to build that tower together, but we do still want to ascend to new heights by communicating with each other.
Cantor. Thank you. Judy, come here for a minute. Yasha Koach, Mindy's online if you want to say hello to her. Judy. Do you hear me? Judy. Yasha Koach, to Avi, to David, and to Bobby for davening this morning. Service this evening at 6 o'clock, tomorrow morning at 7:15. Nedra, you wanted to make an announcement?
Sunshine Committee is meeting tomorrow at
Sunshine Committee is meeting tomorrow at Myers Apartment at 3 o'clock.
Hopefully we'll have some people there.
Hopefully there will be some people
I
there.
love it. I have fun announcements.
Go ahead.
So this weekend is our special Combating Anti-Semitism weekend. So I think the registration is already closed for the dinner Friday night, but there is a free movie screening this Saturday night at 7:30. And there are multiple speakers throughout Saturday as well. So if you are interested in any of these sessions, I advise you take a look at the schedule, which can be found on our website or in your email. There's also a November 10th, a Kristallnacht commemoration here at 7 p.m. on Sunday, November 10th. So it's very important to commemorate,
She can't see it.
very important to commemorate Kristallnacht. It was a very key turning, unfortunate key turning point in the history of the Holocaust. So that information can also be found on our website and also in your emails. Hope to see you at that on November 10th at 7 p.m.
Cantor.